Well, I've been thinking that, excuse me, that I should do a video about my thoughts that are not concrete at this point in time due to the events at the hand, as it were. And those events are government and music, as far as I'm concerned. Lately, I've been promoting the Constitutional Labor Party, which is anti-federalist and anti-class system, anti-sir, for that matter. The Constitutional Labor Party is all about brother and brotherly love. Unfortunately, right now, brotherly love is out the window. This federal government has borrowed $120 billion or so from the Vatican Bank, or rather its subsidiary, the Federal Reserve Bank. It is the same interest-bearing currency. It is the same currency that Lincoln went against, that Kennedy went against, that Saddam Hussein went against, and then that Omar Gaddafi went against. When they started talking about a currency that was not the prevalent currency, Rome took steps, just like it took steps to take care of Caesar when Caesar got out of hand and started, his britches got too big for him, or he got too big for his britches, in other words. From Rome's perspective, and when I say Rome, I mean the papal families, otherwise referred to as the papacy, and that is a tender subject matter because of the duality of the papacy. In other words, what Catholics think of as the papacy, they think about that white pope and how they choose a pope, and that's the papacy. Well, that guy's just like a president. Just the guy that they stick out there in front of you so that you can address him as the problem rather than who put him there. And you don't realize it's the papal families, those families that put the Christians up on poles, and until they decided it was a better money making situation if they said that they were now Christians, and they infiltrated the Christian church and brought their evil mindset along with them, and that evil mindset has ended up taking control of what is called Christianity. And that's not to say that there are not devout Christians. I'm a devout Christian. I'm sure my Catholic relatives are devout Christians, and my Baptist relatives are devout Christians, and whatever Pentecostal relatives I have are devout Christians as well. The devout have not much say in the subject matter. The devout are useful as a veil for the evil bastards running the show. And it's the evil bastards that are ordering more and more bombs and ammunition to go to Ukraine so that they can kill more Ukrainians and Russians. They don't care either way as long as there's death involved. They hate you. You need to realize that. On the other hand, as far as music is concerned, I want to put the Rattlesnake and the Sidewinders back together. And I've been searching for a qualified bassman, and I've talked to 3 of the best bassmen here in Austin, and they're too busy to deal with me, and I don't have enough money to attract their attention. So I found an old friend from Brownsville that is terribly successful here in Austin with the brew. They used to be home brew when they were in Austin, and they used to brew their own beer. That's how they got their name. And I've known these Rodriguez brothers for a long time, and I've had the good fortune to meet back up with Mark, the bass player. I didn't realize he was a bass player, but I knew he was one of the Rodriguez brothers. I knew Michael was one of the very best guitarists I ever heard, but I didn't realize that Mark was playing bass. And he mentioned that he wanted to jam with me, and so I'm going to set up a meeting between Rattlesnake and the Sidewinders and Mark, and see how he likes being the bass player, and I'm going to do a video of it so that I, as a sales rep, can go out and talk to the people that are qualified to put us in front of the largest audiences possible. So I am torn between music and running for, well, they call the office president, but I'm against presidents. So, but I have to say, okay, I'm running for president, and as soon as I'm elected, I'm going to change it to counselor and get rid of the executive order, so I'm not a tyrant as a president would be with the executive order. That's the power of a tyrant. I order you to stay in your house. I order you to put a face diaper on your face. That's the executive order. Warp speed, get that poison out to the people. That's the executive order. Some of you people that think Trump's going to save you are going to be terribly disappointed when you find out the truth, especially when some of your members start getting sick or have died and gotten sick already. And if you probably blame it on the Democrats. And the Democrats, those that hate Trump already, are going to be justified in hating him when they know the truth about that slime ball, that friend of the Clintons. They're slime balls too. They're Federalists, is what they are. If I'm elected president, I will become immediately chief counselor by executive order and declare independence from Rome, and suggest that the rest of the people around the world do the same as we Americans. If we're going to call ourselves the leaders of the free world, well, we better free ourselves before we can do that. And I'm telling you, Rome is behind this. And some of you may think it's the Rothschilds. Well, the Rothschilds work for Rome. You got that part right. But you didn't go digging deep enough. And unfortunately, I had some discussions with a foul-mouthed individual that disagreed strongly with me. Let's just put it that way. And I had to unfriend him because he's the second one that I've ever unfriended. The first one I ever unfriended was saying, "Hail Satan, hail Satan." Well, that's you go say that somewhere else, not on my timeline. And this individual was so rude, and some of the folks were jumping on his case, calling him out for it. But I just deleted him, unfriended and deleted his conversation. And every time he tries to pop back in, I'll delete him some more. I have the power to do that. He can go race hell and say his bigoted Jew hatred somewhere else. It's not that and a lot of I don't like those Zionist Jews any more than you do. They're not Jews that I'm talking. They're not Semitic. They're made up imposters, acting out like they have a call to come in there and push people out of their homes and say that, oh, we used to live here, hundreds of years ago or thousands, however long that they claim to have been gone. They never been gone because that's not where they're from. Those people, Ashkenazis, they might be kinfolks to me via the Vikings because they're a cross of Viking and Hun, where the Vikings and the Huns clashed with each other. They produced Ashkenazis, and Huns and Vikings were extremely brutal people, and they produced brutal people. And that's who these Israelites are. They are brutal people, and you can see what they do to the Palestinian people, whether they be Christian, Jew, or Muslim. They don't care nothing. They're just evil liars invading an area that Rome wanted to be colonized more so than it was, and Britain sent them over there just like it sent the English and British type people over to the North America to colonize there, or the same as Spain sent the Spaniards over there to colonize Mexico and South America. Same thing with Portugal and France also. Just all roads lead to Rome if you're willing to take a hike, as it were, and hike down the road and get to the point where you are somewhat familiar with Rome. And I mean, there's a lot of history that I don't believe that any one individual has the ability to cover all of history, but it's just like when I was becoming familiar with European history, I wondered about African history, and I wondered about Chinese history, and the Oriental type history. What about those people? What was their existence like? What did they go up against? And I see the Great Wall of China, for one thing, and I read about the Zulus and how they resisted the Boers and the English and put up a good fight, and how Dingaan, as the English called him. I guess some people refer to him as Shaka Zulu as far as Hollywood is concerned. But the king of the Zulus, he became so because he developed a short spear that you could spear up ahead of yourself but not throw it, because his idea was you throw your spear, well then now you're spearless. And his idea turned out to be a good idea, and he was able to kill more of his fellow African people and take control of them. That's where the slave trade came from. Those people not only killed each other, but enslaved each other way before any white man showed up around there. That's something that the black people don't like to think about, but the white men had been enslaving each other without any regard of that those are white men. The first slaves sent over here to this part of the world were Irish that had been conquered by the English. They were enslaved. Slavery is is preferable to death, I guess you might say. Excuse me. Anyway, so that's what I'm thinking about this morning is how I can convince my fellow Americans to go ahead and realize that they're not free nor independent, but that they can realize it by unity. That's I listened to the keyboard player for Chuck Berry. I wish I had caught his name. I guess I could look it up on Google. But be that as may, if you're familiar with Chuck Berry and the keyboard player, you know who I'm talking about. But I went to a Minds conference, and that was the best part of the whole thing that I got out of that deal, was that he was talking about how he was playing with Chuck Berry at a venue where, well, apparently it was an area that had some KKK people around there. And one of them came up to him and said, "I want to buy you a drink. You're the first individual that I've ever heard play like Jerry Lee Lewis." And they got to talking, and he said, "You're the first black man I've ever talked to." And this black keyboard player for Chuck Berry says, "How's that possible? I see a lot of black men around here in Memphis, I believe it was where they were, either Nashville or Memphis, one of the two places there." And he said, "Well, I'm with the KKK. We don't talk to these black people." And he laughed like, "Oh, you're just pulling my leg, KKK. What are you talking about?" So he pulled his card out, showed him his card. "Here, see, I'm with the KKK." And he got serious all of a sudden. Whoa. But then they started discussing the situation and found out that they both had bad feelings towards each other's race, which were unfounded, and realized they were both just men, human, if you want to use that term. But just a couple of guys that were having a drink instead of fighting each other. And he eventually met more of the KKK people. Not all of them accepted him. Some were more hardcore. But eventually he got to the point where he had interacted with them enough to the point of writing a book about it. And what he surmised was that music has the power to bring people together. And a case in point is Willie Nelson. He brought the rednecks and the hippies together. And I was fortunate enough to go to several of the Willie Nelson concerts, and enjoyed them to the greatest level you might imagine, with a little help from my friends, I might add. Weed, alcohol, and acid. I'm a lot more. I smoke weed and drink a little bit of alcohol. And I'm very reserved about mushrooms or weed, but I'm likely to do a little bit of weed. Of mushrooms. I don't trust acid so much. You can't really be sure of the strength of what you're getting. But the shrooms, you can just eat a little bit and get a little bit of feeling that you got some shroom energy going on. You don't have to go on a search to be a seeker for knowledge or something like that. Or sometimes you end up in hot water. But that's enough to run a lot of people off. Say, well, you're how can you possibly call yourself a Christian? Well, because God uh, made everything I'm talking about, and God is the Father of Christ, and God made me just like and Christ is His Son, and I'm His Son, and you're His Son. You may not realize it, and you may want to think that you're came from a monkey or something, but God made everything, and all you have to do is be respectful. Moderation is the key, as they say. So, anyway, be that as may, I don't really want to be, the 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 president, as it were, the leader, the I don't particularly uh, have any interest in that. I would like to be. Speaking of my rattlesnake and the sidewinders, like if some people convince me to run for the highest office, and I'd have to get rid of that chief executive officer bullshit too. I would have rattlesnake and the sidewinders provide the entertainment whenever I had some kind of get together here and there, wherever across the land. What do you think about that? uh, I'm more interested in uh, the Articles of Confederation. I believe that those folks under that particular governance is the best example of the people's government that I've ever encountered. Much better than this federalism that we're living under. Every state was sovereign with its own militia, and they all agreed to come to each other's aid if any one of them was threatened, kind of like NATO, basically the same idea, and that they would do commerce with each other. And they came up with non-interest bearing currency based on production. How many cows did you raise? How many chickens did you raise? How many ships did you build? How much tobacco did you raise? How much production did you? What did you produce? And today they can tell you where every railroad car is and what's in it, right this instant, right today. So keeping up with production is no problem, and giving it a particular value and producing printing currency to equal that value so that you can buy one chicken at a time instead of having to trade 100 chickens for a horse or something, whatever the case may be. However the value was, maybe it'd be 100 chickens for a colt rather than a horse. But that was what they did. It was enhanced barter is what it was, and it was the Articles of Confederation. And unfortunately, King George won that conflict, as they call it. It was not the Revolutionary War. It was the conflict between King George and his colonists, according to the peace treaty of 1783. The peace treaty of 1763 that brought peace between Britain and France. It's called the 7 Years' War in Europe, and it's called the French and Indian War here in the colonies. And it it what's the right word? It lists it starts with Portugal, Spain, France, and Britain, right up the coastline. And Britain, well, actually, King George is the Prince Elector and Arch Collector for the Holy Roman Empire. And the other, the King of France is mentioned, and the King of Spain is mentioned, and the King of Portugal is mentioned. So that is the definitive evidence that I have that Rome is the director and the referee in the conflicts between his princes. They all want to be my main prince. Have at it, boys. You can borrow from me all the money you need, as long as you promise to pay for the loser's money as well. It's a slick trick he's got, that Caesar. Now, that's about it. I think I've covered everything. The government, my not wanting to head up the government, my suggesting the Constitutional Labor Party is ready to take all comers, and whoever thinks that they can do better for the people that get up and go to work at 8 or 9 o'clock or even through the night. As long if you labor, you're representative by the Constitutional Labor Party. That's just about everybody, actually. But if there's some other group of people that think they can do better, have it. Let's have a debate. Let the people decide. Not not a controlled situation where you can say, yeah, we're going to have some other parties, but they can't. They can't come up here and debate with me. Are you kidding? That's what the Republicans and Democrats say. You can be the Communist Party, the Tea Party, the Libertarian Party, the transvestite party, whatever you want to be all right. But damned if you're going to get up here and debate with me over how we're going to run this show. You got that? You, what do they call them? Useful idiots? Or unnecessary eaters? Or whatever. Anyway, just some distraction, those third parties. They know that they're not going to get to speak to the people when it comes down to it, but they play their role and they get their donations and they keep their game going. I'm sick of these federalists. You should be sick of them too. And just that's all. That's all I have to give. I've given you all I got, and I would rather play music than have to make decisions according to how to react to the world. Anyway, so I think I've had my say for the time being. I do. I will say this, that driving down the road on any day, I get people giving me the thumbs up and making sure that I'm aware that they agree with me on my Bush did treason and arrest the bankers, and don't tread on me, my flag, and common law jurisdiction sheriff sign I got. Anyway, at least in this town, I'm pretty sure I'm easily recognized, as they did at the Blues Society 420 jam at the Skylark. I walked in and, hey, Rattlesnake, welcome to the Blue Society 420 jam program. And I was like, well, thank you very much. I've never seen this individual before, but he addressed me like he knew me. That's from my harmonica playing. And that's what I love to do. I've been getting out a little bit, and my son bought me a whole set of harmonicas yesterday as my present. My present for my birthday, my 70th birthday. He has a thing going on where a bunch of players come over by his shop and his next door shop. There, he's a mechanic, but all the really good musicians gather around there for a jam out there, and they were complaining about some of my harps were out of tune. And so he said, "I'd buy me a whole new set of them." So that, yeah, that's I love my son. I'm so glad that he didn't die from his motorcycle accident that he had. I love all my sons, all 5 of them. Okay, I'm getting long-winded now, so I'm going to cut it loose with this final little bit of. I'm going to take a hit off this joint and get a sip of black coffee. I've given up putting sweet stuff in my coffee, sugar or honey or maple syrup, and half and half. I was listening to this lady talking about milk, and she was talking about how pasteurizing milk made it possible to sell milk that otherwise would have been thrown out. And then she went on to say, then they started homogenizing it. And that instead of being milk that was a little older added to fresh milk that you're having to drink because of pasteurization, now it was milk that was turning against you. The homogenizing process turned it into a chemical component, I guess you could say, that's against you instead of for you. And I had heard that the milk was bad for you. I had also heard that milk was a really good stuff. Well, the really good stuff is raw milk. If you get out there and milk a cow like my grandmother used to milk, that's the really good stuff. But it's hard to get a hold of these days. As a matter of fact, the government is kind of against it. They don't like really good stuff. They really put a bunch of chemicals on your food and do all kinds of weird experiments on it and tell you it's a good thing instead of just being organic, as they say, just working with seeds that have been around for forever. And oh heck, let's see. Lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so I quit drinking the milk, the half and half of that. So I'm down to. I've cut the sugar out. I've cut most of the alcohol out, and no more donuts and pastries and sweet pumpkin empanadas or bolillos, not bolillos, but anyway, Mexican pastries. I like them. I like all kinds of sweet stuff. Ice cream, Neapolitan. Try them all 3 at a time. That's all poison as far as I'm concerned. I've been poisoning myself, and I've been feeling pretty bad lately. Compared to being in top shape. That's what I'm talking about. And so I'm cutting out all the things that I have heard go against you, and see if I can't get myself into top shape for the third time in my life. So I know what top shape is all about, and that may be why I'm still alive, because I've been in top shape. You can defend yourself when you're in top shape. You can survive beatings that would kill somebody else. Anyway, one of these days I might write my autobiography. I'm going to have to be pretty bored to do that. Somebody else is going to have to write about me. Now I'm getting all, what do you call it? Thinking highly of myself. See y'all later. Have a great day, and God bless you. And if you don't believe in God, God bless you even more, so that you can come to realize that you're not kin to a monkey, and nothing is more precious in life.